Good Saturday afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GardenStateWeather.com, GardenStateWeather.blogspot.com, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm meteorologist Robert Smith, and it's cold in the city. This is a live look right now from EarthCam in Times Square. And, well, this morning it was absolutely nobody out there this morning where temperatures felt like they were 11 degrees. And it has warmed up. It's in the mid 30s right now, but with the wind, you can see here on the flag here, there's a lot of wind, and of course around Express and of course around the Disney store, always busy at this time of year for shopping post Christmas, or still Christmas holiday, really, if you think about it, all the way into New Year's. So this looks like this wasn't here this morning on the cam, so it means that they're probably getting ready to set up something here for a virtual concert or something like that going on here for New Year's Eve celebrations in Times Square, and it will obviously be broadcasted virtually over the internet and television as well. 4 o'clock on the East Coast here on this December 26th, 2020. And it's quite cold here across southeastern Canada, the Hudson Bay region, where we've got temperatures in the single digits here. And also, of course, portions of the upper teens here into the low and mid 30s, even some 20s here over the Poconos and northeastern New York State here, central New York State as well. And it's cold. We're in La Nina, so there is plenty of cold air still here to build in across the upper Great Lakes, where Chicago this morning was frigid as well, and temperatures really didn't recover there as well. We'll look at that in a moment. Temperatures are chilly even in Florida. For them, for Floridians, temperatures in the 50s to even low 60s here down by Miami and let's say Key West. That's pretty chilly. So now let's take a look at what the actual air feels like this afternoon. If we can pull this up, this is what it feels like. It feels like it's in the 10 single digits here across portions of New England. And of course, it feels like 10 degrees below zero or even greater than that as you head into southeastern Canada. Quebec and Ontario as well, upper 20s and teens across the Great Lakes in Chicago and even in Ohio, and it feels just about the same as the actual air temperatures in Florida, around 60, 62, and that's, well, it's not too bad, but considering that this is Florida, they are complaining as well. And if we looked at the 24-hour temperature changes here, well, you know, all the warming has occurred over the central portions of the United States, and the cool air has been felt across the Northeast and the northern mid-Atlantic states as well. As of 3 o'clock, temperatures the last 24 hours feel like they're about 15 degrees below normal, some 20 degrees below normal as you head into the Connecticut River Valley and up towards Boston and Barnstable here in Massachusetts here, about 20 degrees Fahrenheit colder this hour at 3 o'clock this afternoon than it was at 3 o'clock on Christmas Day. Let's take a look at the actual wind chill temperatures right now, and it's cold. Feels like 24, 22 degrees in New York City, 24 in Yonkers, and 24 in Brentwood. So it's quite chilly out. And the actual air temperatures, minusing out the wind factor, in New York City, it's at freezing at 32. Brentwood's at 32, which is freezing. Yeah, it's cold, definitely. And earlier this morning on Facebook, I did some of the rivers here, which are still at flood potential or flooding here across portions of Pennsylvania here, and all that water in Connecticut still running down the tributaries and rivers here. Things have improved in New Jersey. We'll get to that in just a moment. Outside of that, we have winter weather advisories for various portions here in the Northwest and also across Nevada as well. And of course, we have winter storm warnings for the Sierra Nevadas here in California, and also winter storm watches as well. And things have definitely improved in terms of flooding. It doesn't mean that the water isn't high. It's definitely high. We've had quite a lot of rainfall. The only river here that's in the minor stages of flood is at the Pequannock River at Macoupin at 5.95 feet, and the minor flood stage is at 5.5, and it's going to decrease as we head into later this afternoon tonight, and then go beyond or below flood stage as we head into December 27th, which is tomorrow afternoon. Outside of that, Pompton River, Pompton Plains is in the action stage, but none of the other rivers here now that were showing up, like Booton or whatever at the reservoir here, none of these are now in flood stage. And if you took a look at the 72-hour stage 4 precipitation analysis from the NCEP stage 4 data sets here, New York City better than an inch, inch and a half in Bridgewater, almost an inch and a half in Allentown. Better than that, this is where all the flooding is occurring, and just west of here, 1.6 inches. Wilmington, Delaware, 2.8. So that a lot of rain here, 2.2 inches in Philadelphia proper, Dover 3 inches. So there has been a substantial amount of river flooding in these areas here. Updated every Thursday is the U.S. Drought Monitor, the last one coming out on the eve of Christmas Eve here. And we're finding that near normal conditions pretty much have now taken place over southern New England with all of that heavy rain across New Jersey and Delaware here. We're in a non-drought situation at this point. Earlier in the season we were, but now we've really quite made up for all of that with the couple of rainstorms that we've had. Unfortunately, they came with power outages and wind damage too. In fact, there's still people on PSE&G's grid here in Monmouth County, and I think First Energy, or one of them, here in Bergen County, where there's still some people out. When we take a look at the Southwest, well, it's still roiling, and it's exceptional drought here across Colorado and Idaho and New Mexico and Arizona. Large areas of exceptional drought here, and of course we had all of these fires occurring in this region of the country, and for that reason the drought continues as well. We have short waves running all over the place here off the coast of just south of the Aleutian Islands here, and a lot of this energy now coming into the west coast, especially the upper Midwest here. This is causing a lot of cloud cover and some precipitation developing over these areas as well. Some of that is snow, obviously, because the air is quite cold. There's a lot of active weather here in the subtropical jet stream getting ready to pile into portions of California. On the East Coast, just a couple of these short waves minoring out as they reach the East Coast. Of course, this was our big storm system here that passed through on Christmas Eve and Christmas morning here. And things are pretty copacetic just about everywhere else. Lots of dry air in the lower layers of the atmosphere from Oklahoma down through Texas and down, basically, for the most part, into the deep south. Downwind Lake Erie and Lake Ontario here, just a few snow bursts here coming in from off the lakes here into northwestern New York State, and down around southwestern New York State as well, just coming in from off of the lakes, the Great Lakes here. Outside of that, the residual moisture here getting north of Maine here into Nova Scotia. Not a lot really going on elsewhere. We have precipitation echoes entering Washington and Idaho and Nevada. Portions of California now starting to see some influx of moisture here, where this is probably going to turn into snow if it's not already snow. Quick look at the goes east visible. Let's see if we can change this into the red. Yeah, we'll do the red one here. There's a lot of cold air advection coming in on northwest winds now. The sun is beginning to set. But if we pull this back just a bit, just a few scattered clouds around the region. We have lots of, deep layer sinking subsidence in the atmosphere. So a lot of these clouds are scattered about, probably at about 20,000 feet or so. Not much going on. Let's see if we can take this back here and get into the decoded obs here, which shows us that the sky cover is about 6,500 feet, and most of the cloud cover is either clear, scattered, broken across the area. And the temperatures, again, they're cold. They're generally running below normal here. Well, 27 degrees in Sussex County, that's cold. That's cold. 32 at Atlantic City this hour. Belmar is at 30. Caldwell is at 32. Newark 31. Morristown's at 30. Millville 31. and also Teterboro at 30, Trenton 28, Wrightstown 31, and Wildwood at 33. All the winds are pretty light now. They've lightened up quite a bit over the last 24 to 36 hours. They're now basically out of the west, or due west component here, at about 6 to 10 knots on average. High pressure is in control. Surface analysis from the Weather Prediction Center this afternoon. High pressure building in across the region. All the way along the East Coast. It's cold, but there's not really much going on. When we take a look at the front forecast for this afternoon, into the next 7 days, into next Saturday actually, which is already going to be the 2nd, I believe, the 2nd of January 2021. For overnight tonight, again, portions of these areas, well, let's go back here. Portions of these areas downwind the lakes here with a low pressure center heading up towards southeastern Quebec and Ontario here. Lake effect snow showers likely. As we head into Sunday, same thing, midnight tonight, early tomorrow morning. It's really going to be this complex storm system developing over the high plains on Sunday afternoon into Sunday night. And that's going to send more rain and snow on the north side and rain on the south side of Chicago across the region as it lifts up towards the Tennessee River Valley into southeastern Quebec and Ontario, drags that cold front through the region. And it will be pretty benign, but there could be some lake effect snows again in the same locations as tonight and tomorrow morning across western New York and northwestern Pennsylvania. And that would be for Monday night, early Tuesday morning. And then that's out of here. And then high pressure just builds in. But look, we got this big storm system, one in the southern branch and another in the polar branch. And that's going to lift up and centralize itself through the central plains with a warm front. High pressure is cold, dry air on Wednesday as that evacuates the East Coast. And then here comes the chances of rain as we head into Thursday. Better chances of rain as we head into Thursday night and Friday. This could be a whopper again, similar with strong cold air, strong jet stream, low-level jet stream, 1 to 2 inches of rain, some wind damage once again. And once that comes off the coast on next Saturday, here we are. On New Year's Day with a cold front, it's occluding across the Great Lakes and the warm sector here we're still in on Friday morning, which is the first of the new year, 2021. 2020, get out of here. And then by Saturday, the 2nd of the new year, things quiet down, but things get a little bit more active again, once again, along the Intermountain West and the Upper West Coast. So we'll start out with the 18Z run here, which goes out to about 48 hours every 6Z, 12Z, 18Z, and 00Z. And we can see the lake effect snows here downwind the lakes here. It's cold, 528 thicknesses, 522 across northern New England, 516 across Maine, and southeastern Canada, about 510. That's cold, very cold air. Maybe some ocean showers here, but nothing really of consequence. The only thing that we really have to be concerned about in the short term is this low getting into southeastern Canada, dragging a cold front through, and there could be some snow showers around the region on Monday morning across southeastern New York, central New York, the Poconos, and down in, and then as we head into northwestern New Jersey, by the time we get into very early, just past sunrise or so, could be some few rain, snow showers here across Sussex and Warren County, rain showers to the east of that, and then that just, collapses as this system begins to move out. Just a few rain showers here left over, 18Z on Monday afternoon across coastal New Jersey down through the Delmarva. As we head into the midweek period, things are going to calm down as high pressure moves off the coast. Southwest winds take hold. Here comes our next system coming in, and this is the one that's advertised for Friday, actually on Thursday night and Friday morning, which is New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. European model guidance from 12Z this morning has the low occluding over southeastern Canada, dragging our sector into the warm sector here with this trough axis now down through central Pennsylvania, down through the Virginias and Maryland, and some spokes of moderate to heavy rain coming through. It's lessened it a little bit, and it moves off the coast with a northwest flow as we head into Friday afternoon and Friday evening and Saturday, and then that's out of here. And well, there was talk of a storm around the first couple of days of the new year, but the European Model Guidance and the GFS has somewhat backed off on this. But there's a lot of volatility in this forecast. Even if we have a negative NAO and a negative Arctic oscillation, and I've seen the teleconnections, sometimes in phase changes, these things can occur. There's so many players on the field because of the stratosphere that's warming, and we'll show you that right now. I'll just skip over to this for a second. I'm going to see if we can pull this up. And this is what the stratosphere looks like right now. High pressure here, well into Europe, extending all the way into Eurasia. Here is another dome of high pressure. This is our southern stratospheric warming, and this, folks, is our polar vortex. Notice how it's stretching here, but it's not completely weakened. If we wanted to go into the GFS forecast, probably try to do it by the 30th of the month, which is the end of December. See if this pulls up here. Come on. And by the 30th of the month on the GFS here at 10 millibars up in the atmosphere, now we see the strong blocking mechanism here over Eurasia, and of course still here to the west. So now the polar vortex is beginning to stretch. We can find more stretching here in the heights and at Winfield here across this region of the country. So this tells me that you know, this doesn't look like anything like what we've seen last year with the polar vortex at all. Nada. Now, knowing what we know about the southern stratospheric warming event that's going on and the stretching and weakening of the polar vortex is seen on all model guidance, whether it's the GFS, the European, or the European Ensemble Guidance, or the GFS Ensemble Guidance. Last night, for example, right after our big rainstorm comes through on New Year's Day and New Year's evening, then it brings another low in the southern branch of the subtropical jet up the coast with a snowstorm. That was last night's run. Now, if we head into the 6Z run and then change that, and it doesn't see the same kind of thing. So now it sees a low, but it brings the low off the coast. And it's a bomb at 978 off the Virginia and North Carolina coast, but now it's further out into the ocean, and it's a fish storm. And then we just have another cutter coming in underneath it with some rain following that on, I don't know, what is this, the 8th, my birthday, actually, of January. Yeah. So it's an active pattern. Now, when we looked at the 12Z model guidance from the GFS, same kind of thing. We're finding our big rainstorm and wind damage and that kind of thing coming through on Christmas, on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and then it's out of here. And it brings the low off the southern mid-Atlantic coast states and then out to sea it goes under a block even further south and east. So it's correcting itself from what it sees. But again, does any of this make sense? The new 18Z is not in just yet. When we look at the teleconnections, we're pretty confident that we have a highly volatile forecast going forward. We're definitely, if we looked at the North Atlantic oscillation forecast from all of the models, the European High Resolution, the EPS, the NCEP GFS, the Ensemble GFS, the Korean model, and the Canadian GEPS model. And basically, from today on through the forecast for January 11th, everything is pretty negative. The only time this changes is around the 3rd to the 5th here, with this negative to positive phase change here, which is showing up in the NCEP GFS model guidance only, but not showing up in the operational EPS or the ensemble blend of all the modeling. So sometimes when this happens, you can have a storm form, but whether that storm is a winter storm or a storm that's out to sea, we just don't know. Now, the Arctic ice oscillation, if we took a look at all the models here, and it's pretty much tanked because of the stretching of the polar vortex right now and the forecast for the polar vortex on all model guidance to remain in the negative category here. So that's a good sign, but that doesn't even necessarily mean that you're going to have a winter storm on the East Coast. It means that everything is going to be quite volatile, and there's going to be a lot of storm systems racing across the country, but how they interact between the polar and subtropical jet stream and location will determine what kind of event or precipitation that you have. The other thing I wanted to look at is the PNA. When the PNA is positive, this is the Pacific North Atlantic American pattern forecast here. And when it's positive, that means the ridge axis is basically over the northwest, let's say Montana. Now, a lot of the model guidance here doesn't have it over the same locations, but the NCEP ranges it up here into the 2 to 3 tactile here. All the other model guidance keeps it positive. So there is some promise here. The European High Resolution model has it neutral slightly above and then neutral to slightly below. So, there's a question here of high volatility in the forecast going forward. Now with that forecast in the warm sector here on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, the GFS 12Z guidance coming in has New York City at about 1.6 inches, Yonkers 2, Allentown 2.6, Bridgewater. So you get the idea here. Even in higher terrain here of the Poconos with orographic lifting that enhances the rainfall rates here, Middletown, Poughkeepsie at 3, 3.4 in Scranton, and then up towards the northeast here, everything in the reds is better than 2, 3 inches of rain. Now, that's the GFS. On the other hand, we'll take a look at the European High Resolution model guidance going out towards the same period. And let's see if we can get total accumulated QPF here. And we'll do it. European model guidance is a little bit less than suggested here. By the time we get into Saturday, it has much less precipitation across the region. I don't know why it's doing that. It didn't have that last night, and that might be an outlier. If we looked at last night's model data, it had pretty much the same thing as the GFS is showing right now, which makes sense. But even then, it has less amount of precipitation across the entire forecast region. I want to take a look at the GFS 500 millibar relative vorticity wind advection here in knots here through the next 15 days. Now, we never really like to trust model data beyond 5 days. This is a very volatile weather pattern that's evolving with the stratospheric warming, a negative QBO, easterly winds from the equatorial Pacific all the way into the polar and Arctic regions. And we know that blocking is occurring because the model guidance not only sees it, but it's actually occurring with the sudden stratospheric warming. So what does that do to the troposphere, where the weather occurs at 500 millibars, about 30,000 feet up in the atmosphere? Well, we've got a lot of energy with multiple short waves here working through Alaska into the United States. Here comes the big rain event with vorticity maximums over the Great Lakes and our deep subtropical trough taking on a neutral tilt here as we head into Thursday night and Friday morning. And that comes up now because of the blocking that's occurring right here, which is an east-based NAO. It's an east-based negative NAO because it, if this upper field here was back here towards Greenland, then we'd have that 50-50 low further west too, but we don't. So that's why it's going to be a rainstorm. Then that lifts out. Here comes another energy pocket off of the Carolina coast. And because we have this blocking and it's trying to build westward now with our high latitude blocking, our negative NAO pattern trying to build into Greenland, but it's not over Greenland. It's an east-based negative NAO. And here's a storm underneath it that's being blocked from what just happened just a day or two before on New Year's Day. And here comes the second short wave, but there's multiple waves of short waves into this flow. Notice the ridge axis here is not that sharply defined, and the distances between this short wave, this deep trough short wave, and this short wave here is problematic because the model is having a troubled hard time figuring out where these short waves are actually located and which ones make sense and which ones don't. During the wintertime, wavelengths do shorten, which is normal in polar and North American winter, but we see that that goes out to sea and has little effect here on the East Coast. But there's more energy, and if you went back, even if you went into day 10, day 12, 13, 14, 15, you see a very volatile and active weather pattern setting up. And again, none of this is going to be correct as we head down the road outside of the first 5 days of the forecast. So the idea that winter is dead, it's not. And snowstorms, we had one in December. It's rare to get snow in December. It's not impossible, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the winter is going to turn out the same way. If you remember the years 95 and 96, that was a La Nina year. Things were similar. And snowstorms and rainstorms both came during these periods of moderation, relaxation of the jet, and then a decoupling of the atmosphere and a blocking that led to some significant winter storms, including the blizzard of my birthday back in '96. Here we are in Times Square this evening, and it's getting quite busy now. A lot more people here out in front of the Disney store and around Beetlejuice here and in Times Square, and lots of traffic building up here now. This is Saturday evening at about 4:55 in the afternoon. So, and it's cold in New York City. So if you're walking, well, better be dressed up nicely for this. We can see the freshening of the wind here from our flags. For GardenStateWeather.com, GardenStateWeather.blogspot.com, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, I'm meteorologist Robert Smith. Have a pleasant weekend. We'll be back in video form on Monday.